Hello, LinkedIn. Welcome to Data Ki Baat. And this time again, I am with Sri Hari, CEO of SNV, and we are going to talk about a very uh, common topic, but there are a lot of interesting, discussion that we can, strike. And the topic is going to be data quality. I know in the data fraternity, everybody kind of understand why data quality, and there are a lot of definitions, there are a lot of approaches, there are a lot of frameworks around it. But still, if you really see and think about data quality, you will see that there are a lot of things that we can do. There are a lot of companies or people and professionals that are struggling with data quality. So we thought that we will bring this subject again and try to see how and what different perspective we can bring in this discussion. So without any delay, I will welcome again Sri Hari to this show. So Sri Hari, over to you. Would you still like to talk about yourself a little bit and then get into the conversation?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Sanjeev. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. I think the last time we were on the show, we went on talking with each other for quite some time, and probably even crossed the 30 minutes barrier. So that only explains how each of us are passionate about the subject on data.
Yeah.
Uh, like you said, I'll do a very quick introduction of myself. So I'm the CEO of SNV. SNV is a 12 plus year old company. Completely focused on data management services. At this point in time, our target market happens to be Middle East. However, we are servicing customers across the world in specifics related to data management. And data quality is a subject that has been researched for years and years. It has been there for many years now. It's definitely not a new subject like you mentioned,
Absolutely.
like you mentioned, Sanjeev. However, we have developed certain aspects, certain dimensions, certain ways of thinking about data quality, which I think will benefit the larger audience,
Mhm.
and also kind of help people understand where they must start their efforts in
Yeah.
order to make sure that the data quality issues don't crop up in their respective firms. I think that's what I'm planning to do today, and hopefully we'll have an interactive session like we had last time. So thanks, Sanjeev, for having me once again.
Absolutely. I think to get started, right? I mean, I would like to go about. Simple question, right? I mean, it comes in my mind, and you will find working with your clients that there is always a there is no common understanding about uh, data quality definitions. There are good definitions out there, but I feel that it changes based upon what and where and what data you're trying to deal with, in what situation you're trying to deal with. So, would you like to start with the basic? Just let's understand and talk about definition of data quality. And there are various. What is yours?
Sure. That's an excellent way to kick this off, Sanjeev. So what I have every time you want to excel in something, the the foundations of excelling in something lies in how you define it and how well you've understood it.
Yeah.
This is a universal fact. Now, coming to talk about data quality per se, if I were to define this word quality, right,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think um, just I'm drawing upon other experiences. So I'm also, by the way, I train people to train project managers and program managers, particularly project managers, to obtain their PMP certification. And
Yeah.
one of the points there that we regularly come across is project quality management, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we start defining quality there. So when you define quality, by definition of that word, the quality of something is defined as a degree to which it matches the requirements, or the degree to which it satisfies the requirement, or you can
Mm-hmm.
say a degree of excellence of something, or
Okay.
it's like a standard that is measured um, against some other thing, right? Now, that is what we define as quality. And unfortunately, this definition is relative. So there is no absolute definition of quality. In the absence of another element, you cannot define quality on its own. And because of this dependency that this definition of quality has, there is always a point when you discuss about data quality that it starts to become very personal. And the reason is for whatever different evolutionary reasons, quality is something that you expect people to bring on board naturally.
Yeah.
You don't expect people, because nobody is waking up today and hoping to do and thinking that now I'm going to create bad data in the system. No, nobody wants to do that. They're all going about their regular jobs and they're doing what they have to do. But if there are elements like this, which is related to bad quality that seeps into their day-to-day work, then there is something very inherently personal about it. People start feeling that they made a mistake. People start feeling that their department is responsible for it. Now, and that unfortunately is arising out of the way the quality itself is defined. And what we urge people to do is that we tell people that when you define quality as something that matches a set of requirements, now where is the requirement here? The requirement here is essentially the requirement which is put forth by the party that wants data from you. So we always tell that if you put forth a requirement with enough detail in it, then the person that provides you with data to satisfy that requirement will automatically be tuned to making sure that the quality of the data that he's providing for is up to the mark, right? This is something that we enforce everywhere that we go, and this is something that we ask people to consciously look into, and we try to take away this personal aspect of the definition of data quality and keep it to a very global aspect. And we also put those specific measures in place, which makes sure that they are measured in the right way, and you're looking at the issue at hand and not necessarily who brought this issue down.
Yeah. So I think I picked up a couple of points over there, and that kind of really resonate with me. I have found that many a times, and you also rightly brought, right, nobody wakes up to data quality.
Yeah.
I mean, I would really want it to be, but it may not be humanly possible. I mean, so in a way, what I thought was, and to your point, right, the ownership is something that is missing. So do you think that with the right definition, we can bring those ownership or entitlement, accountability? Would that help, the definition piece of it?
Yeah, definitely. Most important aspect here is what we have seen is when we talk about quality, Sanjeev, we prefer that people define them and put it out there somewhere for everybody to see. So one of the reasons why a quality policy is published, and one of the reasons why a lot of these awareness campaigns on quality happen is is exactly to address the point which you brought, Sanjeev, is that we would like everybody to wake up and make sure that they have their focus on the quality aspect of any job they do. It doesn't have to be particularly on data, even a regular operational routine that they perform. They always need to have an eye out for quality. And for every job, including data, quality is really dependent on the party that is requesting for details from you. And as long as you satisfy that and you are having certain measures in place, then all of these things will definitely fall in place. It is a very difficult subject, and I attribute the difficulty of this subject purely to the fact that it's not looked upon as something which is a separate planned element. It is looked upon as something that is inherent in what people do. And that's the reason why I think the subject makes it all that more difficult to get it implemented and make sure that it is to the highest standard in any company.
Yeah. So are we kind of attributing it to, are we really trying to say that people aspect is very important in this? I mean, are we getting there in a way? And if you're saying yes, then I have one more question following up this statement.
Definitely, Sanjeev. The answer
Yeah.
is yes. Yeah.
So my question is again, and I'll not talk about exact name of the company and all, but I have been I had a talk with a link on a LinkedIn chat with a company that so they have a proper process to evaluate and they're a data company. They have a proper process to evaluate a candidate before they are getting into the company because they exactly know that what it takes to do a data job. When I say data job, like data quality, data analysis, and doing the data job requires much more anything else. It's like mindset, right? So do you as a company also follow some kind of a process to really scrutinize and evaluate candidate that okay, this candidate kind of fits in my requirement because they can wake up to the data quality, they can wake up to data every day. Do you think that you are doing that, or you have any thought that you might want to do that if there is any available?
So, so quality itself, the measurement of quality in a way, be it in people or be it in process or be it in data,
Mm-hmm.
we have a different view on that, Sanjeev.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is very similar to let's take an example of a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement. It's very similar to that. So balance sheet is like a snapshot. A profit
Okay.
and loss statement runs over a period of time. The maturity in data quality is really coming from the ability to sustain it,
Okay.
not in an ability at a single point in time where you take a snapshot like a balance sheet
Mm-hmm.
and see where you stand today. So today, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of measurements that firms do are snapshots of where they are today. So you take a particular data set, you understand what the current data quality of that data set is across a
Okay.
few dimensions that you might have defined.
Mm-hmm.
But what we feel is missing is the fact that it must be looked at almost like a P&L, which means you must look at data quality from a sustenance point of view, which which also means some measures like over the last 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
how many times have you had errors? Or how many times have you had issues related to data quality?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is the measure that needs to have a downward trend. Point number one. Point number two, obviously, when an error happens, there is an impact analysis that is done on it. So
Mm-hmm.
I am talking about a holistic view, including the impact and everything coming together. Now, that is the kind of measure that gives you confidence over a period of time that it may not happen again in future. Now, coming
Mm-hmm.
back to your point, a similar kind of a measure in a person who probably brings that quality angle to the job that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so when you keep doing a certain piece of work and you're always having an eye for detail and and you are looking at the quality aspects of what you do, it naturally brings in certain characteristics and personality traits in that person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things that we have found, I personally look for is clarity of thought in the
Mm-hmm.
person's mind.
Okay.
Um, this also alludes to what we call as decluttering sort of thing. So this to me is an indirect measure of how the person organizes things and how the person works around things. Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of data quality can actually be planned for. It doesn't have to be left to the individual. You can, as an organization, plan for it, take
Mm-hmm.
actions for it, and make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you control it. So that's where the aspect of quality assurance and control comes in. So
Right.
coming back to your point, I think this is a critical thing, Sanjeev, and one aspect that comes to my mind right now is the fact that if a person stands organized in whatever he does,
Mm-hmm.
and we give them the confidence to execute that work, and
I think we have lost Srihari in between. We will wait for him to join the conversation. Okay, he has some laptop glitch, so we'll just give him opportunity to join everyone. So please bear with me.
All right, I'm back.
Hey, I was holding on all the audience. So
Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank you very much. I don't know what happened. The laptop just went blank.
no issues. It's
Anyways,
anyway live and
uh,
it can happen. So yep.
so coming back to this point, I think one aspect, Sanjeev, is really around organization. The way the person attacks a problem, the way he takes it methodically, is a
Mhm.
measure of confidence for us that he will bring quality in the work that he does.
Perfect. Perfect. That
Yeah,
makes sense. I mean, I was really, as I keep talking, right, I start from people. I'm definitely process and technology is important, but you rightly said, right? And you brought that very clearly that if the person has got that attitude, organizational skill, how he maneuver the problems, how he tackle it and sees it, it makes a lot of difference in terms of data
yeah,
quality, right?
yeah.
That's a great point, and people aspect definitely is. And so organization nowadays are really trying to look at how they can cater to those candidates which is made for data, you know and qualities and then governance and all those stuff. So that is making organizations who are data oriented successful rather than
Right,
just going by anybody, right? I mean, there is a trend around that where people are
right.
thinking from that angle. So I thought bring that point to you as well. So
Yeah,
thanks for your insight on that. Now coming back to the so you talked about definition, right? I mean, so if we can define it well, probably we can measure it well. But when it
correct.
comes to measurement, right, what are the different ways we can look at? You will keep hearing, right, and Srihari, that there is a six dimension of data quality.
Yeah,
We keep talking about those. There are confirmed dimension qualities. I think one of my LinkedIn friend Dan Myers, he really advocate that piece. He has got around 11 ways of really putting those measurement in place. So what are your thoughts, and how do you tackle uh, data quality measurement as such in your
right.
day-to-day work or maybe your clients?
Yeah. So data quality measurement for us is very particularly aligned to a certain data set, Sanjeev, right?
Mhm.
And data quality measurements again vary from one data set to another, and
Mhm.
that variation is governed by the usage of that data set, right?
Mhm.
But in general, if we were to talk about, we have all those regular dimensions that we look at, like completeness, like conformity, the extent to
That's
which you have duplicates, timeliness of data, ability
absolutely.
to access the data. So a lot of these data dimensions, there are plenty of them out there. There are plenty of dimensions out there. There are a few that can be very easily measured by using technology,
Mhm.
and hence a lot of firms do advocate that because it's easy to measure. It is
Mhm.
sort of like trying to search for something that you lost under the light, though you might have lost somewhere else. it, it
Right.
is it is something like that. But however, the outside of all these dimensions that we have to measure when it comes to quality, one
Mhm.
of the key dimensions, like I'd mentioned earlier, is also a dimension. I like to call it as a P&L dimension to data quality. Is pretty much around a certain period of time, and we need to be able to plot a trend over a period of time. If that
Okay.
period could be a quarter, could be the last 6 months, could be the entire last year, and unfortunately, whatever period you define, if you are going to be measuring quality from today, then you might not have that data for the last 6 months or 12 months because you've started that measurement today, which means you're going to start gathering data from now. And that is why it is so important to keep emphasizing that data qualities matures itself in the sustenance and in the consistency of not having errors over a period of time. It is not a snapshot view. A snapshot view is good when you're just using a data set, but when you have to sustain it for your entire company as a whole, then you are not going to be bringing point solutions that will only give you an immediate uh, result. And that is why data quality is so tightly embedded with governance as well, because they all need to be looked at from a long-term perspective. And uh, and if and this is something that we routinely do, and this is something that we tell firms, that, listen, if you're going to put these measures in place, you got to give yourself the next 3 to 6 months to see those specific events that might cause your data creators to deviate from the intended purposes, and what are those events, and then we identify the number of such events, and that to us is the best measure. Unfortunately, with that measure, I am not able to give an instant feedback. Your instant feedback is a snapshot measure, but I cannot look at a snapshot result and say with confidence that this firm has dealt with data quality. I cannot. I'll have to look at a P&L kind of a result over a period of time, and then I would have the confidence to say that, okay, guys, I mean, these guys have these processes in place. These are the measures that make sure that they are following these processes. And as an outcome of that, they are having a lesser number of issues over the last 6 months, over the last 10 months, or 1 year, whatever the case may be. Now, this is sometimes counterproductive, Sanjeev, because as we were discussing earlier, when you go to firms and you start telling them about something slightly long term, somehow they want instant results. They want results tomorrow.
Right.
So we can put certain measures in place that can be implemented today or tomorrow, but the real success of data quality and having good data is gonna be seen over a period of time, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I think I was laughing when you said, right, they want result tomorrow. Sometimes they want result yesterday. I mean, so you know what? So see, we are not the only one talking about data quality. You know that. I mean, there are many in our data fraternity. There are a lot of great minds working on this data governance, data quality, right? And I myself has done a couple of shows talking to people who have worked a lot over the time. So we had a very good conversation. Despite all those things, I mean, you just talked about the importance of definition. You talked about importance of measuring it. I mean, unless you measure, you can't improve and all those stuff. But still, what is that couple of reason or one reason that you think, Srihari, that this discussion or this topic is not still the priority, not the talk of the boardroom? Why this data governance and data quality requires a lot of effort for say a program manager or for a project manager to really go and push for right attention? What's going on there? What's going there? What is wrong over there?
So, I mean, one quote comes to my mind. I can't recollect the author of the quote, but one quote comes to my mind where I've heard this. People say that if you put a lot of effort behind something, and if you meet with the result of that effort, the degree to which you are satisfied with the result is directly proportional to the degree to which you have put in efforts to get there, right? So if you get something very easily, then obviously you don't care about it. If you put in a lot of effort and if you don't get it, you will still view that as a stepping stone to success, right? Like they say, there is always an outcome to anything that you do, right? If I were to relate this to data quality, one of the reasons why this is not the topic of the boardroom is because data quality is not an outcome. It is something that you do in order to achieve an outcome. And people in the boardroom are only interested in outcomes. Nobody wants to hear that, hey, this dashboard is, I have a problem to produce this dashboard because, I'm dealing with data quality issues, as opposed to being able to just take the data and project it for you, and you can make a decision on the basis of what I'm showing you, right? So that's one of the issues. The second issue is that data quality is an element that people don't necessarily sit down and have a set of activities planned to embed data quality. They don't necessarily do that. So what I tell is that data quality is something that you have to plan for and act. It is not something that you expect out of a person. So if there is one single thing that I would like somebody to take off this discussion that you and I are having is that, if people go back to their firms and next time they ask a data set from any of their analysts, or they ask for a data set from the system to be downloaded, or whatever the case may be, if they can very, very specifically mention the use for it, and also mention what kind of quality they're looking for in clear words and dimensions spelled out. Like, for example, I want CRM data with no duplicates in it and with 100% phone numbers available and with all email addresses which have been tried and tested in the past. Right?
That's it.
Now, if this is the way you put forth your request, now you're embedding the requirements in your request. And the person who is going to satisfy this request for you, or that's going to fulfill this request for you, will make sure that he's meeting all those criteria. And now, just think about it. Imagine if everybody were to come up with such requests over a period of time, the whole aspect of quality gets embedded, because a person that is fulfilling this request time and time again understands what people are asking for. And very soon, if he has a mindset of building efficiencies in his day-to-day work, very soon he's going to realize that a lot of these can be plugged at the source itself. So when he's creating the data, he realizes that people are always asking for email addresses to be there. They want them to be correct. They want phone numbers to be there, whatever the case may be. Then he will start putting focus in that area, right? There is also another school of thought that believes that, make all these fields mandatory. Okay, don't let the record to be created at all if these rules are not met. That is practical sometimes, but it is not practical some other times, right? So that's why we say sometimes you got to increase the quality at source. Sometimes you got to increase the quality while processing the data. Sometimes you have to look at quality at the consumption point of the data. But this is a call which is really dependent on the data set that you're looking at, and it is really dependent on what purposes and intentions they're going to be used for.
Right. I think one of the things that I thought I'll add to Srihari, what you just said, right? You asked this very basic thing, right? If we have a proper definition, so if you are able to define that why you need something that you need, for example, I do not need any duplicate in my CRM data. I want all my phone number to be available, so it has to be complete. I want all my email addresses to be tested and tried before. I mean, if you can still ask one more time that why do I need that to happen? Why do I think that I don't want duplicate? Why do my phone number or an email and everything has to be tested before? I think that gives you that very meaningful data which we discussed before this call, right? The business value. Because if you ask those why maybe 4, 5, 6 times, it gives you the reason why you should do that. And that's where this whole mindset or that self-aware why piece will come out, and then you got to have people get driven by that whole process where you don't have to push people to do that. In fact, they will be motivated to do that. I mean, that's one angle I thought I'll add to it. In the meantime, I got a question over there. How can we support or motivate data entry personnels to mind the quality? Srihari, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the heart and the core of the issue. We just discussed some time ago with respects to people, the aspect of people becoming very important when it comes to data quality. I think the motivation really lies to motivate people to mine the quality of the data really lies in just what Sanjeev and I were discussing earlier, is around the fact that we need to kind of embed the know why within the whole aspect of this exercise, and that has to be done as a process. This is not something where a company in a firm, an executive stands up and says, hey, we are having poor data quality, and when we don't put up the email addresses, We're having an issue with the marketing team because they're not able to reach the right people, and we're not getting the right audience to our conferences, or whatever the case may be. It is not as simple as an executive standing up there and providing a lecture. What needs to happen is you need to have a defined set of activities and processes, and you need to tweak them. And these have to be put into practice, and these have to be planned for. And that's why I'm a very big advocate of saying that quality, while by definition is an inherent characteristic, but quality is something that you can also plan for. So nobody is born a Superman, so to speak, right? If you try to embed those qualities, those specific aspects, characteristics that is required in the form of a planned set of actions, then you can expect that the output will be of a certain quality. And I think that is very critical and crucial for companies to realize and put that into practice, and not just have a session every now and then when there is a mistake identified. Oops, I didn't find an email address. Okay, let me call for a team meeting. Guys, it's very important. Please put it. That's nice, but trust me, that stays with that person for 1 or 2 weeks, and then the sustenance, it becomes a question. And why is data quality exercise so difficult? Is not because we don't have point solutions. It's not because we can't get your data sets to be of the highest quality as of today. We can make that happen. The issue is, can you sustain it? The issue is, can you make sure that this is not going to happen in future? And I think that is where the efforts are, and that is what makes this topic difficult, and that is what makes it difficult to implement also. I mean, these are some of the foundations that we need to be very clear and we need to look at.
That's a great answer, and I think data does not govern itself. You have to govern it. So that's where the whole thought process comes. That you have to take the onus, you have to take the responsibility, and then you have to continuously look at the process. So that's what we call in Six Sigma. If you really go by, you have a control plan, and I see that control plan always in center when it comes to data. So you have to define it, you have to measure it, you have to analyze it, you have to improve it, and then you got to control in between. So it is always there. You keep on controlling throughout this journey, and then you can make that happen. So that's really a great way of looking at it. I know anything can be repurposed if you really want it to be, and Six Sigma can also be useful if you really look at from that angle. And so that's
definitely. I think the DMAC methodology, the what do you call that? The PDCA cycle, the plan, do, check, act cycle, and I'm aware of so many other of our LinkedIn friends that have come up with numerous other. They're all subsets of the same thing. I mean, essentially, any strategy, any improvement strategy is going to have an element of inspection. In data world, we call it as profiling. Absolutely. And then it is going to have an element of investigation, and then it's going to have an element of execution and eventually monitoring. So I think coming back to this point when we started off, Sanjeev, that data quality is something that everybody talks about.
Yep.
And everybody have issues with it. And everybody seem to think that it exists all the time, right?
So will it remain an issue in the industry forever? That question came in between. I thought I'll pump in.
I was about to draw this analogy to our current situation of COVID.
Yeah, please do that.
In the current COVID situation, a lot of people are now debating: are we going to live with the virus? Is this something that we're going to have to live with, or is the vaccine going to totally eliminate it? Right? So is there this magic vaccine that's going to come out which will make sure that the virus just is gone? Or do we have to live with it and we have to take those necessary precautions? I think the answer to that question is maybe way into the future, if AI advances to the point where you don't need anybody to create the data, but data creates itself. And if there are algorithms that can heal the data on its own, we call it self-healing data, so to speak. And if all the sources of data around the world are completely connected by using all the advanced IoT technologies, then that is probably the vaccine. And hopefully that will eliminate all of these. But as long as people exist, and as long as people have jobs to do, people have other exigencies, People have emotions. People have personal aspects into coming into their corporate day-to-day work.
Right.
I think this is something we're going to have to live with. The question is, do we want to sort the quality at source, at execution, or do you want to sort it at the time of consumption?
Absolutely. I think it's not gonna, as you had said, people aspect, as long as you're talking about people into the picture, into the whole equation, you wanna live with some kind of a, issues, because there is always a variation. We call it in Six Sigma operator variation, right? There are operators inside your systems, and so you have to do that gauge R and R when you
Yeah.
are dealing with the operator. So there are different ways of doing it, but you
Yeah.
rightly said, people in the system would definitely have their situations, circumstances, and their way of getting things done. So as long as you are dealing with the people and not bringing those standard work, then you're gonna have this kind of issues, and then you have to deal with that source or during this process or at the consumption layer. So
Yeah.
that's great point to really conclude this whole thing. I know we have not even touched tip of the iceberg here, but what we did is that we brought the new perspective, and I think, can we take this as a takeaway here, is that people is very important in this whole game. It's like a critical chain in this case, because you can have all those technology in place, you can have all those processes in place, but the variation comes with the help where the people kind of get into the picture. So I
Yeah.
think we have to get those mindset coming. You have to train people well. You have to probably have some kind of a sustainability process around them, so that you can keep the data pumping in very good data in the system, and then make that happen. What is your last take, and then we can conclude that.
Yeah. So I'd like to say that a lot of people, C-level executives, always ask us, how do we monetize data? Because data monetization kind of
Excellent
became one of
thought
the
here.
hot topics, and it is currently the hot topic as well. Because if you wanna build a revenue stream, and anybody will jump on it, and data
Yeah.
quality is so important to it that if you are able to have curated really good, and you have put all the processes in place to generate the data within your industry, and if that data conforms to all of the data quality dimensions, then
Dimensions,
I
yeah.
can tell you, all you have to do is take that database, and I can guarantee that that database, well curated database on its own, can be monetized, and there are ways and means to do that.
Yes.
And all of this stems from the fact that you have good data and you are investing in it.
Absolutely. That's really a great last parting thoughts here, Srihari. I think it has been really wonderful talking to you, and I think to sum up the whole thing, we talked about the people aspect, and we also tried to define data quality, and we stated that there are different ways you can define, and that depend upon what problem you're trying to deal with, what problem you're trying to solve, and your definition might just change. And the other aspect that we talked about is how do you decipher, take out the value of business value of your data, and then that will drive those right behavior, right processes in place, so that you can sustain that and create and generate more values. And then finally, I think the cost of the quality, if you can always know in the terms of your P&L statement, which you just rightly put in, I think that is going to really help people look at the data from the perspective of what and how it is impacting the business, and then take the
Right.
right action. Like you deal with your balance sheet, similarly you have to deal with your data
Right.
balance sheet, right, in this case. So perfect. I think that's a great discussion today. I don't have any questions so far, but we have one. Do you want to take that? And we are already exceeding the time here. Will companies invest in product which assist in managing data?
I think it's that's always going to happen. Uh, uh, a lot of what we discuss now is all these products and technologies and processes are only
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we reduce the amount of human intervention as much as we
Right.
can.
Right. Absolutely.
And as long as human intervention becomes minimal, it
Mhm.
is kind of, we think that the data that is being generated by machines will have more consistency and will have more conformity, because then it's easy to apply technology
Absolutely.
to it. And
We can avoid those
and
human.
I think we're heading towards that, and that's going to continue to happen for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, Sri Hari, and thanks for your time today as well. I just really loved whenever data. I think I really like and get passionate about the whole thing. So we'll keep on our conversation going forward as well, and we will be basically opening up for further questions. We'll take that and then answer offline to our audience if any. Okay. So thanks very much. Thank you everyone for watching this, and you are watching Data Ki Baat, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.